how far you can go.
Right. So outsourcing certain things, you gotta pick which things you can do yourself and what to outsource. Now here's a question though with that one. Okay, and this is I think this leads into the discussion as to sometimes why when you do have people who really are adamant about purchasing services and goods from a black-owned and operated business, there are certain frustrations that we have with black-owned businesses. Some of it dealing with either the quality of the product or the time of shipping or, pricing, whatever. What do y'all feel is the frustrations that the black community has with supporting black-owned business?
Can I just give you mine?
Sure.
So I do not like sometimes the unprofessionalism.
Yep.
Like they talk to you as your friend, as a friend, instead of talking to you as a person who's spending their money with their business.
Mm-hmm.
As a friend, sometimes it don't sound too friendly either.
Sometimes you're right. I agree.
You be like, I'm spending money with you, right? You talking to me like a little third grader.
Right. I can agree with that. Because for instance, the most recent was when I was looking for a caterer for my wedding. And I understand that it was kind of last minute. I had a month and a half to plan everything. So I understand that a lot of events people had already were booked for. So, in my one group that I am in on Facebook, I had just put in there, can anybody give me some suggestions for a Black-owned catering company? So I got a list of places, and I went through and I looked at websites. I looked at, stuff that they had advertised. One of them, I was like, absolutely not. She came highly recommended from everybody. But for me to just sit down and talk to you, I had to pay you $50 just to have a conversation.
Man, even Attorney Edgar Snyder don't charge money for the consultation.
It was just a consultation. So I don't even know if you have what I need or what I want. But before I can even figure that out, I have to pay you.
So, it's just an entitlement.
Right. But I understand that if you put that in there for, after the consultation, I decided to go with you. You put that in there as a fee because now you have to make up my menu. You have to do all this. So if you add an additional fee for that, then I couldn't even be mad for that. But for me to just sit down and have a conversation with you, that's what it costs. And then it's and then I those other people, I called them. I did not hear back from nobody.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody called me back. And then I got one call back, and she called me back, and she said, "Oh, girl, I'm sorry." She was like, "I was away." She said, "But what is it that you need?" Excuse me? Hello?
All right, so there's unprofessionalism. I agree that happens. There's a sense of entitlement, which I feel is most prevalent in when I work with hip-hop artists. Kind of the reason why I wanted to stop is because, hip-hop artists a lot of times will be like, yo, I'm the best, and I need to get paid for that. Like, you haven't done nothing. It's your first gig. You demanding money. What are you doing?
Nobody knows you.
Yeah, you have what, 4 fans, and that's like your best friends. Like, what we're supposed to do with that?
Right.
So yeah, the entitlement thing that needs to change. The professionalism needs to change. And I think part of it is however you expect to receive customer service from the big corporations. If you're aiming to be a big corporation, you need to take a look and see how they handle their customer service as to why they're successful or not.
Can I ask a question? This is just I don't know, just kind of like a theory, I guess, or not even theory, but just, do you think that maybe Black-owned businesses lack professionalism when it comes to dealing with other Black people? Because it's kind of like that let my hair down moment when they deal with us.
Yeah.
Because when you think about it, it's like, okay, you're going to act a different way around your coworkers than when your manager's around. And then, you know, just as with our status in America, you know, I guess you could look at our Caucasian counterparts as the management of this system. And I feel like maybe they feel like I gotta be nicer to white people or present myself as more professional to white people because those are the people that control industry. Whereas with black people, oh, you my sis, you my bro, I could let my hair down and talk to you a little different.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I got you, and I understand trying to connect with your customer in that way, that letting your hair down mentality.
Not even on some connecting stuff. It's just like to be honest, I don't even think that it's conscious. I think that they just see a black customer and just be like, "Oh, he cool." Yeah, I mean,
you understand.
No, see, and that's what leads to cutting corners. That's what leads to on the other way though, it's not good because. Then if this let my hair down, buddy, that's where the hookup culture comes in. Like, oh, hook me up, like, and then that's when you're losing money as a business if you're hooking people up.
And then if you don't want to deal with them, then they think there's a problem with you.
Yeah, right.
Like, it's crazy.
Again, entitlement. I'm a black-owned business. You need to buy from me. Well, you don't have what I want. You're unprofessional about it, and I'm not feeling this connection at all.
I agree with you, Brandon. That's where cutting corners come from, and that's where, like, we start talking as friends, and then it becomes like one of those things where it's like, oh, okay, friend, how am I supposed to tell you that I don't like something in this whole thing when we become that close, that too cool, or oh, I can't do this, but I'm gonna try to do it, and then it turns out terrible. But we friends, we cool though, right, sis? We good? And it's like, nah, I just pay you all this money to do this, and this is what you do. Like, nah. And then that's where things go left with people, and then it becomes a big argument, and things end up in court. Because it's like, sis, you didn't deliver it, huh?
What's a good way to establish that? Like, I remember I was working with this girl, and I overheard her on the phone. She was telling the girl, "Listen, I'm going to refer to you as Miss Such and Such, and you can refer to me as Miss Such and Such, and we'll just keep it like that." You know what I mean? Basically, she was setting a precedence from the beginning of the phone call on. You know what I mean? Like, I guess because she never wanted that client to get it confused, I guess, and I don't know what the girl referred to her as, maybe honey or sweetie or something like that, but she just basically established that. Is there a way to do that when you're talking black business and it's not? Yeah,
so there's a way of doing it without being overly aggressive about it, which can be off-putting to people, okay? Because even no matter what industry I've ever worked in, there were customers that preferred a more casual interaction.
Yeah.
And sometimes you may bend to that a little bit if you feel it helps your sale, but in general, keeping it professional, keeping that boundary up is, using Mr. So-and-so or Mrs. This instead of their first name. When it comes to writing what you speak, your emails, the verbiage that you use. Yeah. You're not going, hey, yo, what's up? And then, no, it's proper greetings, proper sign-offs. The structure has to stay there because as long as you stay structured, they can't take you but so far off of that.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how you maintain. You maintain it on your side. You don't let the conversation get too crazy.
Yeah.
Don't let it go off track. Keep it business focused.
I think you gotta be on go. I think you gotta be on go a little bit too, though. So you might not go yet, but you might be you stay ready just in case.
Yeah.
How far in advance do you set that precedence? Like, are you setting that precedence from the first email? You've got like a letterhead in the email.
Yes, I have templates. I have templates ready to go. I have, very specific, very, structure on how you present it.
How I want things done. And you have to, and it's so bad that you as the consumer have to set the boundary when it comes to some Black owned businesses. I'm not going to say all, because I have dealt with some wonderful, very professional Black folks, and they are the ones that are keeping me going here. So, but I have also dealt with the opposite of that, never taken away from, dealing with, my people, but I also I know how to deal with them now after dealing with them for so long. Like, I know what I have to do. I have to spell it out for you. I need to tell you what it is I want, when I want it done, how I want it done. And that's how the conversation has to go. I can't call you up and be like, hey, by the way, I need you to do such and such by this day. Oh, but take your time, or, oh, I understand. Sure. Or nope.
I'll tell you what I'm willing to do right away. Okay, so when I arrive, I expect to be paid off rip.
Yeah.
For weddings, funerals, I want to be paid upon arrival. For one song, my flat rate is this. For more than that song, I have it's going to cost
very important.
This. Right away, I'm telling you what I'm willing to do and what I'm not.
It's very important to have that set. Very important. Like I said, don't do this hookup culture thing. I mean, if there is a barter system there's other perks and bonuses involved. But make sure that it's all established and part of a contract. And make sure you stick to that. Do not be lenient. Make sure you stick like you would any other business. If you can't be working for another company and then you just making side deals with customers, you get fired. You would. If
you do decide to be lenient, then it's strictly on what you decided to do and not some choice that somebody else made for you.
Can I ask another question? Do you feel like maybe Black people don't speak the Western language of business? Just because genetically, culturally, we're just not adapt to it?
I do. I feel that way, honestly, because I remember mentioning this on the last episode when I was talking to Brandon. Like, when I would Uber, the conversations that Black people would have would be totally different from the conversations that white people would have, or be totally different from the conversations that Asian people would have. Like, the things we focus on is just different. There's a cultural difference in how we communicate and what we value. And oftentimes, business is not high on a priority list, I guess, or being a boss or being a leader of a business. Oftentimes when I would be Ubering, I'd have white people in my car. Most of the time the conversation would be about business, what they're doing to get to the top, what the next move is, what we got to do next. That would be the conversation of boss moves. And then my people, we'd be talking about anything from, partying to who we gonna beat up, and
WAP. Talking about that WAP.
We be talking about WAP. It's never. I feel like they're taught to be business owners much earlier.
Yeah, there's a cultural divide there, but I also feel part of this. And this is where I get frustrated with people, is they want to do a business, but they don't even do the research for themselves to see what is the industry standards for that business. They don't even look at what is the industry standard? Where's the minimum standard for this to be successful? And then what moves are above that? And I feel it's even easier now because we have endless access to information. So there's really very little excuse as to you taking a look, doing some research.
I think that it's just not. I just honestly think it's just not taught to us. It's not taught to us unless you had a parent or parents that have owned a business of their own, and it's not that you got the don't do's of a business from them. Like, I know that my parents used to own a cleaning business, and they gave me the don't do's. They didn't give me the, you should do this or you should do that, and sat down with me and have a business plan and do this and do that. My parents didn't do that for me. They just gave me the don't do's.
One thing I can say,
but I think that it.
Go ahead, Alicia. Sorry.
Is that like? No, I just think that like that mentality when it comes to Black folks, we're never taught that, because we're always. It seems like we're more employees than we are owners, and that's just our.
You gotta change that.
The culture.
Yeah, because it's
right, and I believe that we.
Yeah, we got the intellect to do it, but I feel like in this culture, in this country, our status in this country has always been property. Like the powers that be, the people who run the system don't necessarily profit from a Black community of owners. Yeah, I mean, like they profit best when the Black community is either employee status, worker class, or property. So
that's why they burned down Tulsa, Oklahoma back in 1921.
So I don't really get down on Black people for not understanding ownership, but I just feel like sometimes we're asking Black owners, especially infant Black owners who don't understand, who weren't brought up in a culture like that, like a home environment of ownership. Like if you're an infant at ownership, it's kind of hard for me to expect you to understand, oh, this ain't no hookup, or you can't be talking like that in here. You know what I mean? I think too, like a lot of times when Black people think ownership, the very first thing we think outside of this is going to be a generational change for my family is this is my business. I could do what I want. And that's why when they answer the phone, they say, who the fuck is this? Instead of, you know what I mean? Like,
well, I think that this is a culture within itself. Like, I think there's lots of little subcultures. And I try to, like with my kids at work, I always mention them. But I try to let them understand, okay, this works for the streets. But what works in the business world, and let them know this is a whole nother world. It plays by totally different rules. What works out here does not work in here. So you got to start being a little multifaceted. Like you got to be able to maneuver in these different cultures because they play by the totally different rule. My one kid, he's so used to cussing people out, and then he gets what he wants. That works for him. That has worked for him in the system. Well, when you get in the corporate world, you're grown now and you're a young Black man. You will get locked up. They don't care about your tantrum. They're looking at you like you are a tyrant. So you got to learn how to apply pressure without adding that aggression.
I was about to say that. I was like, there's a way to cuss people out professionally. There's a way to do that.
Right. So I try to show them how to go about, express what you need. But you don't have to go be aggressive because especially the way white people interpret that.
They're so scary. They're scary.
Yeah. And it's going to work against you. So they got to understand that that's a whole nother world that plays by totally different rules.
It is.
I think Black business owners too need to understand, like, I had this one boss, man, he said, listen, anytime you spend your money, you're doing charity. And whenever he said that, I was like, how am I doing charity? I'm getting something. He said, anytime you spend your money, you're doing charity. And the reason he said that is because we live in a capitalist society, which means that if you want a burger, you could get a burger from 1,000 places. The fact that you walk into a specific place and give them money, you basically done charity. You could have took that money anywhere. And so that was kind of his way of basically saying, like, that's why your customer service got to be on point because
and the product got to be tight.
Huh?
And the product has to be tight. Every aspect of it needs to be at the, like I said, it above industry standard. And I never understood that. Mm-hmm. Like, yo, my bro just tried to order.
Your product line needs to be.
Say what?
You know where your product line needs to be? You said you know where your product line needs to be?
Yeah. I've always made Chick-fil-A. They must be brainwashing people.
Chick-fil-A is a different.
It's like they're a cult or something. I don't get it.
They are like the standard.
Whoa, they in the back.
No, they're above the standard.
They are the standard, though.
They're above the standard. They should be the standard, but yeah, I don't know what they do with that.
People in the sunken place at Chick-fil-A.
For real, sums up.
They actually, because
different.
It's just like one of those things where, like, for me, if all those fast food restaurants were in one spot and Chick-fil-A was there, I'm picking Chick-fil-A.
Right.
Why? I like the food. Their product is good. Their customer service is amazing. And if they, I mean, like, you know how many times that, like, I the first time that I missed something in my bag, I was so hurt. And I was like, they will never do this to me, like, ever.
They'll be trained.
Ever. Right. Like,
and you could, like, that kind of goes to my boss's point, is like, you could get a better chicken. You could probably make a better chicken sandwich. You go there simply for the experience. Like,
right. Because you know what you're going to get every time you go there. There is a standard in which they hold, and it never fails every time you go. It's the same thing over and over again. Where McDonald's, you could be sitting there for 5 minutes, or you could be sitting there for 15 minutes. Like, you got options.
And what's crazy about McDonald's, right?
And they always forget something.
You expect terrible service. Like, you go there and you just like, man, what I'm gonna get today? Because I know they're gonna be on some shit. Yeah, man.
See, and I don't understand people that go to, like, McDonald's and then they got all these special orders and fancy shit, and then they be upset when it's wrong. Look, they have numbers for a reason. You pick a number.
I don't roll out that drive-through until I check my bag.
No, listen. I'm talking about the people when they go in there. Look, I want a number 3, but I want to switch half of number 3 and get a number 7. But I want you to take off the onions off of this and put it on the chili, which I'm a substitute from the. They do all this shit, and then they're like, "Man, it's wrong."
They might be a particular eater, and if you
well, then don't go to McDonald's.
I'm gonna ask for what I want.
Then you know what? No,
you
can't expect that.
You gave me what I want. Like,
if you got a menu, if you order from a menu that got numbers, you're supposed to pick that number and leave that number alone, or else you're gonna get some bullshit when they get into your bag.
I'm getting the food made the way I want it made.
Then you gotta go somewhere else.
Bro,
no, I don't.
I'm just gonna
sit right at the front of that line and make sure my order's made the way I asked for it to be.
Just pick your number and move on, or no soup for you.
Beat the fuck up, Sherelle.
You gonna get beat up.
Listen, you gonna
pick your. Who gonna check me, boo?
The soup Nazi. The soup Nazi gonna come. You supposed to order your soup, give your money, and move down, and no soup for you. Like, that's it.
Who gonna check me?
Last time I went to McDonald's,
restaurants in general,
I got a Big Mac, right? And I only had one patty on my Big Mac. So I called.
I don't know how you mess that up. It's in the song.
Right, there's a whole song.
They were out of fries one time I went. I was like, what? Fries? How you out of fries?
I called. And I don't even know why I did that to myself when I were trying to say that I was like lying or some shit. Like,
yeah.
They tried to make it like my
because there are people who do that. You also got to think the customers they get. It's not just the workers, the customers they get. So there are people who call up lying about their Big Macs. They get free Big Macs.
Yeah.
My head just hurts just thinking about the trauma.
I know.
It's trauma.
Do you feel
like Black people give bad service at corporations like that because they just feel undervalued and feel like they feel like they're not a part of that system? Like, no matter how much they try, like, they'll just never be a part of it.
No.
There are some people who do that, like, you know, working for this white man, blah, 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 and they do this whole thing. And then
you think that we're bad customers too? Because I think we're terrible customers.
Well, I think everyone has their level of terrible. I mean, you got the Karens too. The Karens are terrible customers as well. So
don't get me wrong. I'm not gonna say that, culturally other cultures aren't as bad. But I feel that we're bad customers too. Like I worked at Burger King from 16 to 21, and I had a man throw a cheeseburger at me.
Oh,
just
damn.
open wrapper.
What was it about?
Threw a cheeseburger because it was wrong.
Oh, my
that's
Lord.
what it was. Damn. And I said, I had a milkshake thrown at me. I mean, you'd be surprised the type of things that I've dealt with working in fast food. So I feel for these people. That's why I don't really like when my food is wrong. I just keep it pushing. Like I'm just like whatever. Like I'm not even gonna do all of that. I just don't feel like it.
Oh.
But I've dealt with a lot of even like working at the hospital. Like I dealt with parents, like consumers that are just, ooh, child.
Mm-hmm.
If I could go through that phone, ooh, child.
Yeah, I've dealt with that. I've dealt with all walks of life of people that are just horribly rude to service people or people they feel is beneath them all the time. That's the nature of customer service.
Mm-hmm.
The general public are assholes about shit.
But like if it's them, they want all the understand them or somebody they know, they want all the understanding in the world.
How do you think
somebody they don't know, then it's like, oh no, that it's a totally different thing.
Yo, y'all watch that girl get beat up with the blender at McDonald's?
Oh.
She got beat up with the blender?
That was crazy.
Did you see that, Los?
I missed that.
But you know what? That was the client's fault. Like
it was
by far. I don't know how that lady got fired. I mean, maybe they had to fire her just because, you know what I mean? It was
she busted her right in her head with the blender from McDonald's.
Because she started throwing food at her, right? Or something like that.
Right. She threw food at her, and the girl, literally, it was just the best reaction I've ever seen in my entire life.
Y'all gotta send me this video, man.
She threw it at her. She literally turned around, did one of these. Bow! Right over to her head.
He hit her right in the head.
Hit her right in the
blender.
I was like,
she deserved it though. She deserved every bit of that.
She had it all coming.
This is the thing too, I'll say, like, we live in a society where there's never a reason for violence. But let me tell you something, there's consequences to everything you do. You go to somebody's place of business, and that was a grown woman. Like when you're talking to a grown ass woman like that, she probably got kids of her own, like, and then you start throwing a sandwich at me, your ass about to get fucked up.
I can't say there's never a reason for violence.
Well, no,
because you throw that sandwich at me. If you throw that sandwich at me, then we've crossed over into that world.
I don't feel that way, but I feel like that's the society we live in. Like you'll come across people, you'll be like, you'll throw a punch and they'll be like, you threw a punch? You guys were just talking. You guys were having an argument. No, but that dude was too close to my face. He spit on my nose. Like, I felt offended.
His finger was right here. I felt scared. I didn't know.
That was more than, that wasn't no just words. He deserved to get punched, period. Like, so,
right. Brandon, what's the next topic?
Okay. So, yeah, we've been getting off topics now. All right. So, the next one on the list.
Or what haven't we discussed that's on the list?
Yeah, we've been jumping over, which is cool. I mean, we've been definitely letting the thing flow. So we pretty much covered everything, man. Other than that, other than like the positive impacts that supporting Black business has on the community, and what we need to do better as a culture to make sure these are successful. That's what's last.
I mean, I feel like ownership is like, I feel like the best thing is